live. I know I'm live. Guys, how's everyone doing? It's your boy, GRC, Jim Rat Crypto, here with Crypto in the Morning. Let's check out the chat for a second. While everyone else is bitching and whining and complaining about the price action, I could care less because I'm an actual happy person and I just enjoy all my time. So don't worry about the price as much, guys. If you put too much into the price at 50 cents, sucks for you. Just wait it out. And if you put too much money in and that you're all upset, sucks for you. Learn a lesson, okay? Stop putting too much money in. Learn about the 80% dumps. Learn about the market. That's what we're doing here. We like to get right into the nitty-gritty, guys. We don't like to beat around the bush too much. Let's talk to the chat. We have a bunch of alpha male freedom fighters in the chat. I can already smell it. Gen Hex. How are you doing, sir? Hexagon Tattooer, good morning. Dump that S. Couldn't agree more. Dump it. You know, some of us aren't 100% rich yet, so like we don't necessarily care if really rich people get really more rich like right away. If you can only imagine. Rantfish Crypto. Good morning, everyone. Cool picture, dude, with the shark and the glasses. That would look good on a Shieldmaster shield. That's for darn sure. KS. Good to see you this morning. Symphony Wave. How are you doing? Rantfish Crypto, man. I like that name. T-Bird. Sup, homies, brother. How are you? Johnny B94. How are you doing? Nardo for the win. Absolute alpha male. Stud Muffins. Bob Lagai has been absolutely savage all over the internet lately. Bob, when are you coming on the show? Stop having a wife and kids. Soon, okay? Stop having that shit. Tin Top. What's up, Hexicans? Sweaty. We got both. We got Sam Stoltz even in the chat. Jeez Louise, this dude's everywhere. Bullish Ox. Bullish and I have been talking crazy all morning. Crazy arbitrage opportunities within the Maxi system. We're not going to get too deep into that because I want to be able to take advantage of it before I tell absolutely everyone. But we have Hedron Maxi opportunities on different between Matcha XYZ and Dex Screener. You can see that there's different prices listed. So, because good morning, Crypto Ragoon. Guys, we have a special guest today. Other than Sam Stolt, we have Bluey, okay? Blue Bum. We got Blue Bum, and he's coming in hot. We didn't even talk before this. He's just get in here. Get in here. I'm not hiding anything. He's not hiding anything. So who gives a shit? Let's get in here and talk. We're going to be covering a lot of stuff today, guys. One thing we're covering first, the first 15 minutes, and I swear I'm going to can it at 15 minutes, and if anyone gets in my way, I'm going to throw my computer out the window. We are talking about Hedron, okay? Before you act like you know what is going on in Hedron, why don't we continue to do more research? Because as you do more research in Hedron, you actually learn what's going on. And then you realize that there's correlation potentially there. And then you're going to want to look into it more. Guys, we got Blue Bum. He wants to talk about Hedron. He's an admin in the chat. He's also someone who probably knows a lot about Bitcoin. So he'll be perfect for the conversation. We're going to go through the white paper. Why was crypto invented? In 2008, right afterwards, we went straight to Bitcoin, right? So it was like 2008, the crash. I was just a young boy, but we have, you know, everyone else in this talk was probably working at the time, right? So let's talk about that relationship to Bitcoin. We'll talk about white papers a little bit. I'm going to explain to you in depth what a white paper is for all you guys in there that just kind of skipped over that. I have a little 3-minute video just so everyone knows what exactly a white paper is and actually how to write a white paper. If you look into the resource, he will show you how to do that as well, but I'm not going to cover that. Guys, it's your boy GRC. I'm going to go put something on that shows a little more guns, to be honest. And this is going to be an absolute banger. If you're not sharing this all over the internet, then God will summon you to hell. Guys, it's your boy GRC.
Young folks, you dripping on them motherfucker.
Richard Heart. Richard Heart.
Bought my hex from the fucking start. .1 every day we mark. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Heart. from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the hex, here's mooning. Looking at why they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pull chains out and get me a check. He's gas up and got me a mess. Remember the times he died collect. Hex I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Buy my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Buy my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Getting this back like a year ago.
What's up?
Hey guys,
How are you, Lumbo? How are you?
I'm excellent. Absolute honor and a privilege to be on the show. You guys have been pumping the live streams out, and you guys come up heaps in my street, in my my feed for YouTube. And I think it's because you've been going every day, and yeah, something's working for you. So well done, guys.
You know what? I'll tell you exactly what's working for us, so everyone in the comments can know if they want to do this themselves at some point. Again, time allocation is obviously a thing. I have nothing to do all day, so put that in consideration. But anyway, so what you need to do is, one, do it professionally. Do not do it like a half-ass thing. If you're just going to do it, you should do it in the way that you think it should be done. Not that doesn't mean good or bad, but whatever your brain would tell you is a good way to do it, that is the way you should immediately shoot for. Doesn't have to take you 8 months to get to a professional level of like decent streaming. You know what I mean? You can just ask people right away. I asked Bullish, my producer, like, what the hell's going on? Blah, 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 blah. He's like, I got you, bro. I know all this shit like the back of my hand. I was like, word. You know, and then you can get to a faster level quick. Anyway, cutting that conversation right out. Sam Bloom, you haven't met yet. We talked in the green room. We want to talk about Hedron. Where do we start?
What's up, Bloom? How you doing, man?
I'm good.
We got a tip to check out you and ask you to come on because you are apparently the master when it comes to Hedron, or at least have some very interesting ideas around the game theory behind
He actually does the
incentives
research. And believe it or not, he's done the actual research. So
we were talking about that beforehand, and the details, those important like nuances. I'd love to hear your thoughts on like Hedron and whatnot.
Yeah. I wouldn't call myself the master by any means, but I did pick up a lot of knowledge by being in the Hedron chats early on, and it seemed to have a gathering of big brains there. And there were some people in there that were just like spitting absolute knowledge bombs, and so I just learned from them. Yeah, but Hedron, should we just give a quick kind of like summarization of what it is?
Well, for everyone here, if everyone's been here for the last 3 days, I have not shut my mouth about Hedron. So there's been a lot of in-depth conversation about Hedron, guys. So I don't think you necessarily have to go to exactly what it is, but generally we probably should cover it.
Yeah. Well, look, Hedron was built on top of Hex. Hedron cannot exist without Hex. It was built by a guy called Alex, who is an amazing guy, and I hope you have him on sometime.
I'm trying to, but he's a busy one.
Yeah, he's busy building stuff, and he's a builder for sure. And so Hedron is given out free to Hex stakers. Doesn't matter if you have a native Hex stake that you've had for a year or 2 years or a few months or whatever, or if you plan to buy one in the future, and you are able to mint Hedron for free, aside from the gas cost of Ethereum, based on how many shares you have and how many days served of this Hex stake you have. So right now we're in the absolute top of the inflation of Hedron. So there is a ton of Hedron that people are able to mint. And people have been dumping it because, hey, free money. And that's why the price is got a lot of zeros in it. But over time, as shares become more expensive in terms of HEX, and as we hypothesize that HEX becomes more expensive and therefore HEX shares become more expensive, the ability to mint Hedron diminishes quite drastically over time. And so Hedron for me is a long-term hold. It's a visionary kind of thing. It's set up in the right way. It doesn't no admin keys. It is what it is.
Quick piece about what you just said, like the long road, right? We know a lot of people don't think like that in general, right? They don't want to go there because it's hard. It's a lot of whatever. But I always see, just like what you said, right? People are like, oh, this 10x bonus, it's so massive, it's so massive. But really, you could buy a full length 555 stake. And we were doing the calculation with somebody that had 50K T-shares. So we were doing it with the 50,000 T-shares. And you can buy that amount of Hedron right now on market for like not an incredibly super rich amount of money, but it's still a lot. It's like hundreds of thousands of dollars. But like you can set yourself up to be a leader in if you have the foresight and that's something you want to do. But it depends on the adoption. And what we're banking on is HEX adoption. And what else is attached to HEX? Hedron. So they're going to be traded within each other probably to an extent.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest liquidity pool at the moment is the HEX Hedron one. And so you can just get it for free just by having HEX stakes. But the other two advantages of Hedron is that if you make a HEX stake through the Hedron contract, you can tokenize that stake and send it to another address, which means that you can sell it on a market. And we're starting to see lots of markets pop up now. I think it's on 4 or 5 markets already. And then when Pulse Chain comes out, people are already planning other markets. And so I think there's going to be competition between all of these sites to be the place where the Hedron is traded.
Wow.
And so there's that ability to, like, if you want to make a HEX stake, you don't have to think, oh, shall I make it for 1 year or 2 years or 3 years? You can just make it for the maximum length of time, get the most amount of yield accrued to your address every day, and then in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years time, if you want a nice big chunk of liquidity, you want to go and buy your Lambo or your house or whatever like that, you'll be able to sell that HEX stake that has already, so it might be a maximum 5 Quattro Cinco stake, but it's already had 10 years that have served on it or whatever. And so how we value those stakes is a whole nother question, which is really interesting and is kind of it's going to be interesting to see how people value them and whether people trade them. Because the thing is as well, like if you're a really big player at the moment, let's say you got $10 million and you think, oh, HEX is the biz, I want to get in, I want to throw $10 million into HEX. You can't really do that at the moment without getting a lot of slippage. But Hedron will be the way that whales in the future are able to get in quickly with very little, or because they'll just buy the whole stake. It won't affect the HEX market, and so they won't be moving the price against themselves.
It's interesting. So when you are talking about this, you're talking about purchasing the NFT to get the HEX stake, correct?
Exactly.
Right before we came on, you had mentioned that there's going to be the 90-day mark coming up soon, where there could be some liquidations.
Yeah, and there are some really interesting games already starting there. So there are some people who have made HSI stakes, like HEX stakes through the Hedron contract, and they borrowed on them very early. And for instance, there's one that was made just like, I think it's worth like $500, a HEX stake that's made $500, and the person borrowed like I think 400 million or something like that, which is worth about $2. And that person is letting that stake bleed out. So when we hit the 90-day mark, that will go to auction. And the way that the Hedron auctions work is the first person comes in and pays off whatever was borrowed. And then it goes into a 24-hour auction. And people can bid for that stake. And at the end of 24 hours, if someone makes a bid within the last 5 minutes, then that extends the clock by 5 minutes. And so then,
so it's kind of like next bidder if there is click rate at the end.
yeah.
That's
And
dope.
the reason that the whale has done that, I'm hypothesizing, is because they want to see Hedron burnt. Because all Hedron that's borrowed is burnt. Anything that's paid back is burnt. So if you make a borrow and then you start paying off the installments, all of those Hedron installments that you pay back are burnt. But the person who wins the auction, all of that Hedron is burnt. So this is a way to burn Hedron out of the system.
So when somebody does an advance, they're going to pull, and it's a 15-year, they pull the full amount of Hedron that they're able to earn over that 15 years to day one. And then when they go back and pay that off, that is just getting burnt as they go through and actually do that.
Yes.
Now, when somebody goes through and purchases, so say this person who had the $500 hex stake, they borrow $2 worth of Hedron against that, and they're not paying that back because it's $2, it's trivial, maybe they're not paying attention to it, what have you. And this is $500 hex stake is going to go up for auction.
Yeah, so they're going to lose that hex stake. They're going to lose that $500 hex stake. But the reason that they're willing to do that is because they probably hold or are going to be holding a lot more Hedron. And what they want to do is they want to get that, while it's cheap now, they want to get all of that. People are going to be bidding for that stake. And you think it'd go up to at least $500 worth of Hedron, and probably more, because that stake also has a 10x bonus attached to it. So that stake that person wins will be able to mint Hedron. So they're hoping that people pay an absolute shit ton of Hedron for that stake, and all of that Hedron is going to get burnt.
Interesting. Do you have any thought? So when somebody, first question on the purchases of it, you had mentioned in terms of the sequence that they pay off the loan and then it goes up for auction. So so somebody pays off the loan before it goes up for auction?
No, that's the way. What happens is it comes up for possible liquidation. So 90 days go past and there have been no payments made on that borrow. And so then anybody can come in and pay off the borrow, and it immediately sends it to a contract which goes up for auction. So then the auction happens, and let's say I pay off the first borrow. Then the second person, they put up their Hedron. Their Hedron, well, I get paid back whatever Hedron that I paid, the first person paid, and then there's a little bit left over. And then the next person who bids, they pay off that second person, and then the next person pays off that third person.
Interesting.
And every time the price gets pushed up.
Sam, lock this information in your brain because I'm going to have to ask you about it later.
So where does this take place? On Hedron.pro?
On Hedron.pro, and Alex is currently working on the V2 version of Hedron, the Hedron DApp. And I think he's Hedron.pro. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I think he's already put, if you go there now, I think he might have already put up which ones are coming up for liquidation.
We could pull that up real quick. And so we're going to jump out of that topic, guys. There's a lot of positive externalities long-term for Hedron, period. End of story. Okay. And it's attached to the greatest asset that's ever created in the history of the universe. Okay. So I don't need to sell you that much if you'll chill on that. You guys don't think too much. Okay. You just talk too much. Okay. So just remember, we're going to look into all this stuff. I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy in the room, but I don't say things definitively until I know them, period. I never do. And that's why I waited, right? I got so much Hedron hate, dude, because I was like, there's a lot of sell pressure. I'm not sure yet. Right? I wasn't sure. And I was like, seems like there's so much sell pressure. But then as I learned and I understood, I changed my worldview. And they were like, you're fudding Hedron. It's going to fail if everyone fudds it. I was like, dude, I'm not fudding shit. Like, this is a long-term play based on adoption. You know what I mean? So I wanted to talk about one thing. I wanted to invite Bullish in to look at the Maxi Premium to show everyone that on the two different websites, the prices are like way different. If you're there.
What's up?
I asked a question to Crypto Gains Club about the matcha pools, and I think that's what me and you were discussing earlier, Bullish. You said matcha will find your best price across various liquidity sources. Liquidity, that's my worst word, including Ox, Kyber, Uniswap, Oasis, Curve, etc. So Crypto Gains Club, to add to that question before I turn to Bullish, I'd like to ask you, what's the difference between what I'm about to show you? You can just answer after, or what Bullish is about to show you, the difference between the two sites, because I'm just uncertain. Do you want to pull it up, Bully?
Here we go. So let me zoom in so we can see this a little bit better. Can you see that good?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So on Uniswap, the price of one maxi is 17 cents, right? And no matter which direction you go, the price pretty much stays the same. But on Matcha, the price of one maxi is 33 cents. If you flip it the other way around, it's 19 cents. So that's what I've been trying to figure out, because my understanding
was 33 cents.
Right. So my understanding was, that it's pretty much grabbing, the best information from all the pools, the best price from all the pools, and presenting it for you. But it's like, why is Maxi different versus what Uniswap?
And I would assume, this is just my assumption, please fill me in right away, there's not that much volume of Maxi. There's not that much trading going on. I have a bunch of Maxi. I haven't even thought about trading it yet. I'm sure a lot of people feel the exact same way. They're just thinking a little bit more long term. So does it make a difference, the volume of Maxi? I don't know.
Where is this V2 you're pulling from, Bullish?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It'd be V3, wouldn't it?
No. This would be it would be V3 actually.
This is interesting. If like somebody could execute a trade and buy it for 18 cents.
Basically, what it means is you should be shopping moving forward, guys. When you're doing this, and Sam loves this, because he loves options. Sam is a fucking options guy. He likes that 5 options. He's going to look into all 5 because it's an extra positive thing, and you can do. And then you could find deals like this, but and you can also learn. What we're talking about is learning. Yeah, I don't care about swapping all this shit right now. That's not what it's about for me. It's about learning about this. So when it is to that point for me, I'm just so aware of what's going on. Slippage and all that. What do you think about that, Blue Bum? You probably have so much, thousands of times more experience.
You know what might be interesting is just bringing up nomics and looking up where the liquidity is in each of the pools for Maxi.
How do you do that directly?
I'll pull it up right now.
You just go to nomics, search Maxi, bring it up, and if you scroll down, you'll see which pools it's in. I think most of it's probably on V3 pools. I'm not so. I don't know much about Matcha and where they get it from, or even how it works. To be perfectly honest, and so if you can get it,
it says it's all on V3.
Okay. So I don't know where Matcha would be getting a cheaper price from.
So basically, what you're saying is it's pulling it from a pool we probably don't even know about.
There isn't. We would know about it because it's only on a decentralized.
What
I think
Louis is saying is that it should, if the nomics is up to date, then it should show up right here. Is what he's trying to get across, I believe. If that's accurate, Boom.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Nomics was pretty good with that stuff, and that if there was another pool that Matcha could pull from, it would show there. But maybe they haven't updated.
All right, so let's anyone that has answers to any of these questions, we'll look up stuff, guys, later. Again, I just love poking around at stuff, right? I love poking.
I mean, it might be that because it's on V3, it's not equal sided liquidity. So it might be that hardly any Maxi is getting sold, but there's tons of Hex in that pool ready to buy Maxi if it dips down.
When I
But
when I looked into Maxi, which I looked into it pretty regularly, but I went to the info because I wasn't aware of what you just told me about the nomics and listing liquidity there. And the only place I could find it when I was just poking around, because I wasn't sure if there was an aggregator for that, I found a couple pools, but there was barely any liquidity for it to start with. I think it was under $1 million worth and this was spread out in like several different pools between, say, Maxi and Hex, Maxi USDC, Maxi and Hedron on V3. So that could be the only pool. But when I was looking the other day, I didn't find any other pools. So that nomics thing could be accurate.
See on it's interesting. Maybe go to Matcha, and it might just be that you can buy it for cheap, but you can only buy like 10 cents of it worth for cheap. And then if you buy more, like if you put in like $10,000, the price is just going to move against you like heaps or something like that.
It actually doesn't even pull up when I pull up Matcha and I look for the Maxi token. It doesn't even pull up for me on my side.
All right, guys, guess what we're about to do? We're about to switch it up. All right, I'm going to switch this up real quick.
So quick, just so Sam knows, in the future, if you don't see it, you got to copy the contract address and paste it into it.
Thank you.
And guys, for those who don't know about Matcha XYZ, Matcha.xyz for limit orders, that is the alpha for buying your stuff. But that's far as you guys might know other stuff, but that's from what I've heard from the best sources that I know. So set your limit orders, right? But when you set your limit orders, quick alpha, don't close the web page. I'm a dude who has problems with his brain, and I love closing web pages. And when you close it, it'll make you reset it, and then it won't count. And I remember the price went down to where I wanted it once, and I was like, "This is the best day. I did it. Great job, Scott." And then I was like, "Oh, wreck."
So Sam, I pasted the contract address in private, so you can just copy it from there.
Hold it up. Thank you, sir.
All right, so we're gonna switch it up. We're gonna switch it up until he pulls.
I've heard lots of stories of people's orders on Match and not going through. I'm not sure if it's just because you closed the web page, or I'm not sure how their engine works.
I'm telling you, hey, quick alpha. If you close that web page, you wouldn't think intuitively it would make you redo the transaction, but it's just that little transaction fee to like set the order, right? And I remember setting it once, and I was like, oh, this is great. It probably failed because it actually, but I don't know. Paste the smart contract address, Sam. Maximus.cash front page.
Oh, okay. You can get it from the actual protocol from the.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Sweet. Thank you. Is that?
And as we go, guys, he's going to pull this
Thank
up.
you.
I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to be moving into. I'm going to be moving into a little bit of Bitcoin talk. Okay. We're going to be first. I'm going to let everyone in here know. There's 100 of you in here right now. I'm going to let all you guys know what is a white paper and what it should look like and what generally it is, because it is a little open-ended. As somebody who likes detail, the definition of a white paper doesn't stick too hard. But there are examples of good white papers and bad white papers. But so I got a 3-minute video on that I want to show everyone. Then we're going to start talking about Bitcoin, and I'm probably just going to be asking questions to Bloom and Sam as well. Is that cool, guys?
Yeah.
Good.
I want to learn today because what did Bullish told me, I can't remember what he was fucking saying earlier, but it was smart as shit. It was
you have to know your past to know the future.
right, like, and I totally believe that. Like, you have to know what went on before, or you'll never be able to get ahead intuitively. And if you want to invent stuff in the future, of course, you'll never be able to get ahead of the curve if you don't know exactly what went down, right? Like, you have to know the patterns of these things, like Tesla, like Bitcoin, like all these big companies, like how the things work. So I want to get personally, I don't want to be a guy who just knows about Hex and shit. I want to be a guy who knows about Terra Luna, Polkadot, everything, because I want to know what I'm talking about rather than being a freaking slave to what other people are saying, which I hate. I hate that shit. All right, guys, let's read this first. Let's start this first.
The white paper. Well, I researched everything I could find on how to write them. And I had a pretty good idea of what a white paper is, though there's no nailed down definition. It's a little bit flexible. Basically, a white paper is, number one, it's a report that is, number two, written about a problem that's pretty compelling for the reader. And then number three, the author of the white paper generally identifies himself in the white paper. So after learning how to write them and basically what one is, I went scouring the web every day looking for examples of good white papers. And I skimmed hundreds and hundreds of them. And I found maybe several dozen that even fit that definition, and then even fewer of those that were any good or were compelling. But it's interesting that today I'm going to show you an example of a white paper that's actually really good. And interestingly enough, it's considered the first white paper. It was a policy paper put out by Winston Churchill that was presented to Parliament in 1922. He was the Secretary of State for the colonies, and it was addressing the problem of Jewish settlers coming to Palestine and conflicts with the Arabs living there. And so, as you can imagine, it's quite a complex situation. Well, what was great about this white paper, and it's like if I can get it open, it's just this long. It's 4 pages, and it was a report. And what it did was it looked at the history of the conflict, and then it kind of did an overview of the current situation and things that they had tried that didn't really work. And then it laid out what Churchill and his department believed was going to be a solution for the problem. And so then secondly, of course, this conflict was of quite a great interest to Parliament and the other people that would be setting policy for this. And in fact, when you do a white paper for marketing, you're hoping it will serve the same function as Winston Churchill's, and that somebody will take your white paper, take it into a meeting, and because you've done such a great authoritative report, they're going to say, look, this has information that is really going to help us make a decision. And then finally, of course, Winston Churchill put his name to it. Usually the author puts their name on it. And it's actually by writing a white paper and putting your name on it, you can actually gain authority if you don't have it, if you're not quite as well known as Winston Churchill. Well, if you want to know a lot more about white papers, just kind of learn about them in general, I would get
Get your shills out of here, guy. I'm only taking you for your alpha, and I'm kicking you out. But guys, so white paper, and again, when I'm talking, I'm in a learning kind of context. So just know that, blue bum. When I ask a question, it's generally because I don't 100% understand it. So, in your opinion, white papers, like people, it's almost like a buzzword a little bit. But what do you know about white papers and like what to look for? Because I look at white papers every day, and any insight is wonderful.
I mean, it's a marketing document essentially, and there's so much variety in white papers and what they show, and it's just your initial kind of, okay, what is this about? Can you give me a summarized information about what's happening here? And so I guess it's your first introduction to a project.
Do you think it's almost like peacocking your intelligence a little bit by having the most detailed, comprehensive like breakdown? Because that's what kind of that guy was saying in a way. It was almost like the better, the more beautiful, the more elegant, and the more detailed your white paper, it will come across better as a product in general.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I mean. Essentially, it's a marketing document, and hopefully they've got their tons of information in there. But often people will put out white papers that haven't got tons of information in there, and there's all sorts of other terms now as well. Like
Hedron's is extremely extensive.
Yeah, it's a good one, the Hedron doc, and
companies use them all the time for marketing. They'll come out with like a white paper, and they might hire somebody, like a second party, to do it. Supposedly, like an independent party that's getting paid, right? So it's not really super independent to come out with something relative to whatever they're working on, a project or service or a benefit of the service that they provide or something along those lines. And then they'll use that for their marketing, whether it's like their email marketing or some type of brand campaign and referencing the white paper that they came out with.
Is a white paper 100% optional?
For what?
Of course.
For anything? Like, is there any sort of rule about it? Or is this just like a marketing tool for the brand itself?
Marketing.
Okay, so it's not necessary. It's just a tool. Okay, so that's kind of looking at that.
It's not a legal document, and it's not a there's no set way of doing a white paper. You can say anything you want on a white paper. There's no regulations around it. It's a permissionless, especially within the cryptocurrencies. It's a permissionless, systems. So you can write whatever you want.
They also change too. Like when you have a white paper, when we're referencing crypto, kind of like, hey, this is kind of like the outline or prospectus is how I like to think about it for what might be coming out. It's not always 100% what actually comes out. There's changes that are made along the way, and you see this happen regularly.
Yeah, Bitcoin's white paper, the halvenings aren't in the white paper. That was a later pumpamental that was introduced.
You know what I would like to break down, and I just thought about this would be fun. Hold on a sec. This is one I've never read. This is very. I'm sorry if I'm just being a geek right now, but I have never read this white paper. You guys see it or not yet?
No, yeah. Cardano.
Yeah. Have you ever read that white paper, Sam?
Never. I've never really got super interested in Cardano.
If you look at Cardano from an outside perspective, you would think that there was nothing going on, right? Because basically what everyone says right off the jump, and I'm just going to be 100% honest, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What people say about Cardano right off the jump is that it's the dumbest thing that ever happened, and Charles is going to steal all your money, and that it's the biggest promise coin in the history of promise coins. So that's what you hear off the jump, right? That's the initial talk. So we all talk about hex. We all talk about gatekeeping. So I just think it's stupid that people bring all this stuff up and then they do the exact same thing to everyone else. And then they wonder why there's a reflexive feeling there. But an ADA might be stupid as crap. Like it very well might be dumb. But do you agree with me that most people have no clue that say it's dumb?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know anything about it, and so I don't really have a big opinion on it. I hear people say things like that, but
what do you hear, Sam? Sam is 80 days into crypto, Blue Bum. If you didn't know that, 80 days into crypto.
Oh wow.
So just understand his perspective is coming from a guy who understands more about the detail than he does about the community aspect and like the other shit going on. He's kind of coming in straight here and then extrapolating his thoughts from there. So what have you heard about ADA, Cardano, Mr. Charles Hoskins, and Sam, just from the grapevine?
I hear that it's not from like the hex community that it is not great, but outside of the hex community, there's people in the ADA community who are very bullish on it, but I haven't even slightly, because if I'm going to look into something, I'm not just necessarily going to go talk to Blue Bum or you. I'm going to try to go to the source of the information to get the actual information that's not filtered through, telephone, whisper in your ear, then you whisper in somebody else's ear, and then you whisper in somebody else's ear. And then you get, this perverted version of reality. I'd rather just go to the source of the information. And ADA hasn't piqued my interest enough at this point, given all the other amazing, cool things that I can read about. So I haven't started to look into it yet. I've just heard from this community that it is not super great, hasn't performed very well. What is the utility of it? No idea. What is the long-term roadmap of it? No idea, personally. Bloom, have you had any thoughts on that, or have you looked into it deeply?
I haven't looked into it deeply. What I've kind of gathered is that it's another layer one. Like Charles Hoskin was one of the people who came up with Ethereum. He had some problems with some of those other developers and wanted to go in a different direction to them. And so then he went off and, decided to make his own thing. I think that there are, from what I've heard, and is that Solidity, which is the programming language that smart contracts are used for Ethereum, is not the best language, and there are better ones out there. And Cardano apparently is a better language, but for programming smart contracts.
So basically, they developed a brand new language just for ADA, Sam.
Yeah, and they also came up with a whole lot of ways of scaling in a big way, because Ethereum obviously doesn't scale very well in its current
When you
form.
say that, I don't understand. Oh, you mean scale by like the system gets seizes up and there's too much action?
It doesn't seize up; it gets incredibly expensive.
Well, that's what I mean. It's basically just a trigger for seize. Like it only allows the rich people to do it, which stops everyone else from doing it. But it's just
economically, it seizes up. Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
And so Cardano was also, I think, been trying to, or has roadmaps and stuff like that for ways to bring governance into the cryptocurrency. And also, I think they also wanted to partner with kind of companies and things like that, whereas Ethereum didn't want to. But there's tons of VCs that are all over Ethereum, so.
It's not like decentralized crypto by any means, right? I mean, I'm going to look into it for everyone. I'm doing a full deep dive ADA white paper, taking notes on everything, and I will present it next week. So,
I think it's secure. I think it's a proof of stake. It's what Ethereum is going for, and what Pulse Chain will be. No, Pulse Chain is delegated proof of stake more. So,
what's the difference between the proof of stake versus the delegated proof of stake?
The number of validators who are validating the chain. So you can have a proof of stake where everyone can be a validator and everyone is validating the chain. Like thousands of computers are coming to consensus over the database. Or you can have what Pulse Chain will be is just going to be there are 33 validators, and there's competition to become those validators. So it's a different security model, and people who are holding the coin of that layer 1, they can delegate their coins to which validators they want in return for part of the rewards from the fees that the validators are collecting.
And how does that change the incentives, or how does that change the structure? Because a lot of thinking would be that if you have thousands or tens of thousands of people validating, you're like, okay, well, that would appear to be more secure, right? But then maybe it slows things down. Maybe it causes more issues because there's tens of thousands of people doing it, versus if you have 33 people doing something, it's like, well, then, that's 33 people you're trusting, right? We trust 192, global organizations that call themselves countries, and they don't do a good job, right? So can you talk about that? What the security difference is between those? Yeah,
well, it's a different security model. So let's say a government wants to ban this cryptocurrency, and they go along, they see who's validating, they go along, they find them, they go along to them and say, hey, you have to stop. If there's thousands all over the world, then that's not going to do anything. So governments aren't going to bother to do that. With a delegated proof of stake model, let's say they find that person and they're in their country and they're under their jurisdiction, and they come along to them and say, hey, you have to stop. That person just goes, okay, I'll stop. And because there's competition to get into those top 33 places, someone else around the world just quickly fills that spot. And so it's about whether, if someone wanted to overtake the blockchain and rewrite it, they would have to, because people get slashed if they're being if they're not being true. And so it's another type of security model that has worked. And there were cases where like Steam was a delegated proof of stake model, and because a whole lot of people were keeping their Steam on an exchange, the guy who wanted to overtake Steam, he actually went along to the exchange. It was a friend of his, and the Binance. And he basically got all of those coins that were on the exchange to delegate towards the people that he wanted to be the validators. But then what happened was that all those people got really pissed off at that. And so then they just went and created their own blockchain called Hive. They just forked it and created Hive. So it is possible to, like, I don't know. I mean, it depends on so many factors. And what you would, there's also the reasoning for why you'd want to do that. Like, why would you want to overtake a chain? I mean, you'd have to spend a ton of money and energy in order just to destroy all of that money and energy. So that doesn't really make game sense.
But wouldn't it be harder to do that if there's tens of thousands, if not, hundreds of thousands of validators, depending on
but the other side, but the other side of the coin, which is what we've seen with Ethereum and Bitcoin, is that even though you have thousands of people who are like who are validating, like either miners or validators, well, in Ethereum and Bitcoin, it's miners. They end up going into pools, and so really you have only like 3 or 4 or 5 main pools, and so because everyone's like given their power to those pools,
they're the ones centralized than 33 is.
It actually they become more centralized in terms of the actual decision making. And the other flip side of that is, like with Bitcoin, it becomes incredibly, like if there are so many people who have, it makes it hard to change anything about so you got no development. That's the flip side.
So talk about that for a second. So if you have tens of thousands of validators, is there a SOC type of thing for how validating is done that people are generally supposed to follow to be a validator?
There's all sorts of different systems. Like, for instance, Avalanche have a completely different consensus mechanism, and they can have thousands of validators, but it's just been designed in a completely different way. But then they have other problems, like the validation and consensus of the network isn't necessarily the biggest problem to look out for. It's more bugs in the code. Like inflation bugs are way more detrimental to a chain, or contracts which have admin keys which admins can just go and change things, or or bugs in contract code. So when the contract is sitting on top of the blockchain, it's more a problem not in the consensus layer of the layer 1. It's a problem in the contract which is sitting on that consensus layer.
So if you're looking at like the hierarchy of how probable or risk is some sort, the risk with validating is on the lower end of the totem pole relative to, say, contract risk, or admin keys is probably first, and then contract risk or bugs in the system, so to speak, whether it is.
With proof of work, with mining, we've seen people attacking other chains, trying to get most of that hash power to change transactions or whatever. With proof of stake, I'm not an expert in this area by any means, but I don't think we've had many kind of like attacks on a network, maybe apart from, I guess you could call that Steam it, when I forget their names now, but when he took over, when he tried to take over the network, but then everyone just forked it and just went off on their own and did their own thing anyway. So I don't even really understand, and he just killed his project. So he had this really good project, a whole lot of people are using it. He starts playing all these shenanigans with it, and he destroys his own project. So it's just like a dumb thing to do anyway, I think.
In blockchain, you get exposed so quickly by doing like not necessarily the best behavior for the collective, it seems like, right? Because you have things like that where he wants to do something in his specific way. So he's like, oh, okay, I have a buddy that can help me because he owns an exchange, and he can delegate all of the tokens on the exchange to me so that I can use them for this purpose to get this thing achieved, right? But the bad behavior can get exposed more quickly, I feel like.
These are public databases, so it's all out in the open. So you can't get away. I mean, it's easier to get away with stuff on centralized exchanges where it's all kind of hidden. But on public blockchains, that stuff's going to be exposed. And so, and that's the thing, is like, what brings value? In the end, it's social consensus. It's what everybody, what mass humanity agrees on, you know? And the price is that metric.
Yep.
The price is the end result of all that social consensus. And so,
and then this is why we worry so much on this show. We harp about marketing. It's all just marketing. It's like, who's marketing the best? Obviously, crypto is software, so the software has to work and it can't have bugs, or that will be bad marketing. But like, let's say that works, like what Hex has done, in my opinion, it's been very good on the software side of things. So when you add that to the grassroots environment that we're getting into, it's just too explosive. It's so explosive because everyone's getting a good deal. You know what I mean? It's like crazy.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting when you think about it from the marketing standpoint, like as you were saying, GRC, because when you're talking about the marketing, I'm thinking about like an S curve, right? And I'm like, this is very interesting because you have people.
You see the whole S curve. I want this to be the S curve. So I want adopting anything can be forked and changed. And people have tried to copy Hex. There's people trying in my DMs trying to get me to buy copies of Hex right now. You know what I mean? And I did a deep dive on them, and I'm absolutely ready to rip them in half because I'm locked in with pretty much every amount of information I need about the 60 million sacrifice and where most of that money came from. So that's a little sneak peek if you're watching those guys.
Did you want to get into that white paper? Because I still want to talk to
I want to pull up the white paper real quick. I'm going to read the first couple. Not the ADA one is like 90 pages long. That's a red flag. Like, how are you supposed to even like work around that? Like, it's literally like, I just kept scrolling. I was like, screw this shit. I mean, I'm going to read it at some point, but like in my own time, clearly, because
that's a long one. Yeah.
Not in a group setting, Charles.
And one thing that they did as well is they have tons of like academic papers that are written about various things.
We know a lot.
You want to dive?
Being from the bodybuilding world.
There's lots
in the bodybuilding world. The rich guys, they just are like, hey, we got this product over here. You see how many studies are done on it? You see how many papers are on it? And they funded the whole thing. And it's just like all the poor guys are like, I need grassroots, right? Like they have to get that audience base. And basically you have to come at it from that way. How much engagement does Richard Hart get on the internet? I've never seen engagement like he gets with the amount of followers that he has. Never seen it, because he knew intuitively fake followers won't change anything anyway. So why don't I just show people, like, because when you see 5,000 watching and 200,000 subs or whatever, it's a good ratio. Like, people are going to notice that, in my opinion. Like, I notice that. Like, when people have 150,000 and they have less watching than me, I just know that they're a piece of shit. Right? Like, I'm like, oh, you suck. You just pay for bots, and that's cool. But like, you're not effective. You're not valuable. There's nothing there. So like, just get your money, I guess, and do whatever. But so we're going to, I got to stand up for a second, but I got a cramp or some shit. Hopefully I don't die on stream. So we're going to talk about the white paper. Let's pull it up real quick. Have you read the white paper, Bloom? If you haven't, it doesn't matter.
You know what? I've skimmed it. I haven't like read each line and thought about each line.
Well, then this will be cool for all of us, I think, because again, I'm here to tell everyone the truth about people. It's just natural not to look into these things. I'm telling you, it is. It's not necessary. It's not that important until you want to change the game, and you have to be armed with all this knowledge in the future, right? If you know me, I'm a thinker. I think all the time, all day long. That's all I can do. So I'm going to work through this just like me and Sam back in the day would talk about fitness stuff, kind of similar, just wasn't white paper. So can you zoom in, Bullish, on that? God damn, I got a cramp in my fucking rib.
There you go. That's good. Boy.
Okay, so Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer cash, electronic cash system. Abstract. What is an abstract in general?
A synopsis of the entire paper.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure I had that definition correct. Because GRC has never written a paper. A purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. Guys, pause right there. What do we know about the banks? They lie, they scheme, they take everything off the top, middlemen everywhere, you're getting wrecked. This guy wanted to do this because he probably didn't want to deal with that S anymore. Okay, move on. Digital signatures provide.
Well, back on that for just a second. When this was put into place, right, to give context, that was like 2009. This was right after the financial crisis, right, and no doc loans and all that kind of stuff here that happened in the United States, and then there was a ripple effect across the world. But there was a big hey, banks are bad. The people who handle money don't have any effing clue what they're doing. They're just doing it for themselves. And there was a big sentiment of that going on at that time. We see this world of crypto right now where people don't necessarily care for governments too much. They don't care for taxes too much. They don't care for regulations too much. And they love privacy, right? We have these things right now.
Yeah, but I don't even know if that's the truth. I don't think most people in cryptocurrency care about any of that stuff.
Well, we asked Bloom. What do you resonate with those four things?
Stud muffin.
The reason I got into cryptocurrency, became interested in it, was because I really enjoyed looking at the world and how power moved in the world and how governments had power, and I understood that the people who print the money have the power. And when I've discovered Bitcoin, I went, whoa. The only way you could fund wars was because you could print up as much money as you wanted to pay people. And when I first read about Bitcoin, I was blown away because I was like, this is going to usurp government's power. They're not going to be able to fund their own wars. And I was very much interested I read a lot of John Pilger back in the late 80s and 90s. I was very much into WikiLeaks, and Julian Assange comes from the same city as me, and I was very aware of his career and what he was doing. And when WikiLeaks was coming out with all this stuff, and it was a real turning point for me when WikiLeaks came out with there was a leak that showed that the American government had been tapping the phone of Angela Merkel and all of these other world leaders and been listening in on them. And I remember when that came out, and I was like, whoa, shit's about to get full on. These governments are going to start, I don't know what's going to happen. And after that happened, it was just dead silence. Germany didn't say anything. And I was just like, oh, okay. These guys are all in it.
It reminds me of Bill Gates, right? He's like, oh, I'm going to split up with my wife because she's doesn't want to be associated with a pedophile, right? Or that type of thing. Or somebody who is associated with pedophile and good friends with them and does business with those type of people, supposedly. Then nothing, right? You're like, oh, wow, good. Finally, somebody's getting exposed. Something is happening, maybe, right? We see this. And then you're like, nothing. Nobody in the media says anything about it. Goes to the back burner. Nothing at all. And it's same exact thing that's going on right there, what you're saying. When you look at the white paper in the abstract, I was having a conversation yesterday about how beautiful crypto is in the sense that you don't if I was going to, you're in another country, if I was going to send you money, say you're like, hey Sam, can I borrow $10,000? We're like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. We'll just do something, you know what I mean? We'll write a contract between us, and I trust you, you trust me, we believe in each other, we've been friends or whatever the case is, and I'll loan you $10,000, right? Or you're purchasing something, whatever. To send that to you, and the paperwork involved to get you that money is so cumbersome.
Yeah.
So
that's full on. Yeah.
I just be like, hey, you'd be like, you want to buy my service? Okay, cool. It's 10 grand. You're like, okay, cool. 10 grand. You just send me $10,000. Boom, done and over with. Instead of filing this piece of paperwork that says I'm doing business with somebody in a foreign country, and then I need to have this information about you. People who haven't done the business outside of the country or things like that, or just had that experience, it's so cumbersome to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we never thought that banks would cut people off from being allowed to be paid. Like that was never a thing until the Visa and MasterCard stopped payments to WikiLeaks.
For Julian, right? Wasn't that because they were trying to raise money and they didn't want to support?
To WikiLeaks, yeah. They stopped all funding to WikiLeaks through Visa and MasterCard. And ironically, everyone started paying in Bitcoin. And then later Bitcoin boomed. And so the WikiLeaks was fine for a while. But we never even realized that, like now you have people being debanked. Like people who own a tattoo parlor or people who own a vape shop are often debanked. And the bank doesn't give them any even reasons for why they're being debanked. They just say, no, we're not giving it to you. Bad for our reputation or whatever reason they come up with. And the truckies in Canada and stuff like that, people who donated to a protest all of a sudden are like cut off from accessing money. And today's day and age, that should be a human right. Like it should be illegal for a bank to not allow someone to have an account.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's very interesting. I had that perspective given my background in like the fitness and industry. Like that's how GRC and I connected. And in that industry, there's a lot of there's a whole gray market of stuff that is perfectly legal, but it is not. The merchant service companies, which are like the credit card processing companies, they won't do business with you. So back in the day when I first started getting into this stuff 8-9 years ago, it was like you could pay with, I had no idea what crypto was, but you could pay with crypto. I was trying to find companies that allowed me to pay in a way that was like, I remember like even just sending a money order, like go to Walmart, get a money order, take the money order, you send it to this address with your order number. And like, that's how you would pay for shit. Like how absolutely ridiculous, but it was because of the area that I was talking about. You had mentioned the same thing with like the truckers and with something else, also with the Visa and MasterCard and the WikiLeaks. There's all these like, I want to call it fringes, but a lot of times when you say the word fringe, it has negative connotations associated with it. But there's these parts of society that are purposely excluded from society. For whatever reasons, the powers that be are like, nope, we don't want Loom on here. We're just going to cut him off from the system, from the financial system. And there's lots of these like segments around in all these different industries. You have this on the fringe of a lot of different industries. You have that happening, and they're cut off from the financial system. They're not allowed to do business in the way other people do business. And I've seen this firsthand. GRC has experienced this too over the last several years, where you can't do business that way. You have to use
it
all
doesn't
the
work long term. That's what we're talking about. Reputation. We always talk about reputation on this chat because reputation is the greatest currency in history. I don't have much money, guys. I have a very, very, very strong reputation, and people like me and they trust me and they know I'll show up every single day, no matter what, whether I have $1 million, $1 billion, or $0. They all know that. I know that. Everyone knows that. So that's a good thing that people know about me. You know what I mean? Like I project that because I truly want that to be the way that people feel about me too. Like, I went and I put pressure on myself, but guys like Alex Saunders, for example, Alex Saunders, for example, he was stealing Bitcoin, asking for loans from every friend that he had, saying that he was on his fucking last nickel and or whatever he was saying at the time. And
hey, there's a great opportunity here.
Yeah, he was lying to everyone.
Who give some context for who?
So Alex Saunders was this guy that was basically running a paid group. So basically, he was just doing a trading group, wrecking everyone, stealing all their money, however way he could, while giving decent half-ass bullshit information. And if they just listened to Richard, they would have been rich over their wildest dreams. But that's not the point. He was asking for loans from very popular guys in the Bitcoin community on the low, saying he wanted money for an ICO. I mean, a launch of a coin or whatever. Like he was like, we're going to go to the moon, blah, blah, blah. So people were giving him like 50 Bitcoin here, 50 Bitcoin there. Bitcoin was a little bit less back then. But then everyone started figuring out, because Richard was calling this dude out so hard. He was like, this dude's a fraud, he's a bullshitter, liar, paid course, that everyone started connecting the dots until Richard exposed the DMs where he's like, this dude's a clown. He stole 50 BTC from me and he didn't pay me back. And then everyone else started doing it. Like BitBoy did it. You know BitBoy, Sam?
No, I've heard you mention him.
Dude, and he's like very excited, and he's like a shill guy. But anyway, he's like the CNN.
Oh, I think he's like
he's a bigger guy,
chuckier guy.
Yeah, but he's a slick little talker, nice guy, a little slick guy. But like,
I was, yeah. I mean, not that we want to make it to turn it into just talking about Alex Saunders or Nuggets news or whatever.
Why not?
Segment? But okay, like I when I was like I was a member of his group for about a week. And it was because like I'd been really into crypto since like 2000 and I first read about Bitcoin in 2015, bought my first Bitcoin, started 2016, was a trade tard for a bit, got scammed out of ICOs, still made, like, all of a sudden, like, the 2017 bull run happened, and I was like, yeah, I'm rich now on paper. Then that all crashed, and then I just basically, like, sold everything, chucked it into Bitcoin, and just waited. And in 2019, like, I'd been keeping my eye on it, but I had never ever talked to anybody in the real world about cryptocurrencies. I had never met somebody who I could actually talk to about it, and I was really, like, craving that. And Nugget he provided some, I don't want to say good content, but he was one of those people that had respect in the community, and he was one of the main streamers. And as he was an Australian, and he would talk to, he'd do lots of content. So I was watching him for quite a while, and he had a Facebook group. And because I'd never had any kind of community, had never been in a crypto community, I really wanted to start talking to people about this stuff, because all this stuff was starting to pop off. And so I joined the group. And at the same time that I joined the group, like a few days later, I found Hex. And I started deep diving into Hex. And I was just, as soon as I was like found Hex, like I was just like going, holy shit, whoa. And so then I was like, awesome, I've just joined this group. I'm going to introduce myself to the group by showing them this amazing thing, and they can get this free Hex if they've all got Bitcoin, so they could get free Hex if they just like sign a transaction and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, sign a private key and and so I made my first post in his group about Hex. And I was like, hey, have you guys checked this out? These are all the things. And I made a nice big long post. And then people started responding, and no, it's a scam. And there was arguments, and I was like, no, but hang on, and then Nugget came in and just said, no, it's all wash trading and blah, 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 and it's a scam. And then I was like, well, hang on, it's all on chain. You'd see all the wash trading if it was wash trading. And then the whole post was just deleted. And I was just like, you gotta be joking. Like, so I basically wrote to him. I said, like, I'm not going to be, I didn't pay to be in a group that was just going to censor me. Like, why can't we talk about this kind of stuff? And I said to him, like, I want my money back. And he sent me my money back. And I said, and I wrote him an email, and I said, I'm putting this Hex in, like, you can get this Hex back when you come out and have a proper, like, deep dive on Hex. When you come out and give a proper deep dive on Hex, then I'll give you the money back. I'll give you the Hex back. I can't remember how much it was. Like, it was only worth $50 at the time. Now it's worth, I don't know how much it's worth, but yeah. So, but he never wrote back to me, and obviously, yeah. You know, and it's hard to know how much of it is him just being a degenerate gambler. I mean, people are complex and complicated, you know, and yeah, but stay away from him. He's trying to make a comeback now. Don't listen to anything he says. Oh, the other thing is that what I was really intrigued by was because if you got to be a paid member of his group, you got to see what his portfolio was. And I was really curious what his portfolio was. And so that's one of the reasons I also paid to be in the group. So the first thing I did was I checked out his portfolio, and it was just like a who's who of shit coins. It was just like hundreds of fucking shit coins. And I was just like, really? This is your balanced portfolio? It's just like everything under the sun. Yeah. Yeah.
That's do you, I don't even know, like, would it be like not fun to manage hundreds of coins? I feel like
you can't.
Well,
it's
no,
too
but
much.
the thing is,
no one
Sam,
can.
Those 100 coins he probably got given to him by people too, because he's a popular.
Oh, he would have been buying like all sorts of crap as well.
Oh, so he was buying this crap too, man. Like he was.
Oh
just
yeah.
off the pit.
I mean, I've got no idea. I've got no
Addictive
idea
behavior and negative. Me and Sam know a lot about addictive behavior, negative behavior, constant negative daily life habits. We see it every single day. We watch it. We observe only from afar, of course, because we don't participate in any nonsense. But in general, people that are in that way of thinking, that's the only way they feel comfortable living. It's the only way they feel life is worth living, would be to go through whatever the thing is that they're doing at the time. Like he mentioned, he was an opioid addict. That can couple really well with degen shit. Because if you're like, you know what they say in the streets, like the guys down here or in Baltimore, like, 10 minutes into the city, like they take Percocet so that they don't feel bad when they kill people. Oof. Like that's what they do. They take it before they go out on runs because they won't feel like nothing. They'll just be like, I don't give a fuck. And then afterwards they can deal with the emotional turmoil. It's a thing people do. And he mentioned live that he was an opioid addict. And he could have been bluffing, of course. But in general, opioid addiction is absolutely cunning and baffling if you're actually caught into the grips of it. You can get out of it for certain, like no doubt. But like it's a hell of a ride, certainly. And I mean, come on, any male who's been addicted to drugs can say if they've done some opiates for a week straight, that's a hell of a ride. If you are an addict in general.
Do you see?
Yeah, no,
go ahead.
I think he's the sort of person who believes what he says. Like, I think in his world, he's not a scammer. And he did come on and he said he paid everyone back. I don't know if he did or didn't or whatever, but like, people are complex, and you might be a scammer and not think and be absolutely sure that you're not a scammer at the same time. People hold contradictions inside themselves like that,
Yes, it's interesting that you say that, because it is. People are interesting. It's also, most people don't realize the most important tool and most powerful tool that they'll ever use in their entire life of existence is between their two ears. And you can have, like you said, these like discombobulated ideas of what's going on, and it's outside of everybody else's reality, but it is your reality, and that's perfectly normal in your reality. And there's not like negative connotations associated with it. It's just, that's your reality. And it's very interesting talking to people and learning about those people, because it's a bubble that is like, I don't even know. It's not, I feel like I'm in that space to a certain degree because just how I live my life. Like you're in crypto, right? And you're kind of nomad, so to speak. And you now probably have a community of people that you can talk to about that. But when you just live your own life and you're just like going on throughout your day, and you don't have that type of people, and you can go down some weird fucking places, right? Because there's no one around there to call you on your bullshit, right?
Yeah. And that's, the best thing for me about Hex has been the community. I'd put that above like the friends that I've made through it, for sure. And the people I've helped as well. Yeah. Just going back to that shitcoin machine gun approach as well. That's the norm, I think. I think most people coming into crypto for the first time are faced with so much information and how to discern what the good information is and what the bad information is, and which are the good projects and which are the bad projects. And so most people coming in, and I used to have a job like onboarding people. And so I've seen a lot of people's portfolios. Most people, would have gotten a bit of, Bitcoin and a bit of Ethereum, and then they just go for the shotgun approach. And they will get 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 basically shit coins. And their hope is that one of those does incredibly well. And even if the others go to zero, that one is and people do want to chase the high of that exponential price increase. And there's definitely like,
there's
a high, I think.
There's definitely some hormone action that goes on for that when you chase those highs. Kelly Monroe actually asked in the comments earlier, and I want to get your take on this because he was mentioning he asked a question and I didn't understand, so I asked what exactly is your question, and he's like, how to get started on the crypto stuff. He owns a welding business, but he wants to get into crypto. And you just mentioned that you did a lot of onboarding stuff. So if somebody's like McKelly or however his name is said, where does somebody start, right? Because I tell people to just pick one thing. I started with Hex, right? If you want to look into Hex, dive into that Hex and really understand Hex. If you're like, ADA is a fucking shit, then learn about ADA, everything you need to know about it. But do you have any thoughts on that? Like, how does somebody get started into crypto who's not in crypto, but they're like, crypto is definitely the future?
People don't think like that. Only smart people think like that. So it's like, it's hard. It's hard to say. Like, everyone in my life knows nothing about crypto, period. Smart men all over my life. I know many, many smart men with beautiful businesses that have lots of money. None of them care about crypto. None of them know about crypto. They could all learn about crypto, and they all know that I've made money on crypto. So it's odd to me. Go on, Bloom. Sorry about that, but that's my
okay. So first of all, people have different ways of learning. So the way that I got into crypto was I read a book, and that was a really good way for me to get into it. And then I started doing it, and I think that learning about it is quite important. Because once you learn about it, you can make decisions based out of understanding and knowledge, and not just on your feels about this person or that person or this project or that project. I think that take the time to learn a lot about it. The first thing that is important is to secure your cryptocurrency safely. So get it off exchanges, get control of your own private keys, and then understand how to manage your private keys. Understanding what even that term means, managing your private keys. That's really, really important. And then in terms of what projects you get into, you just got to research them, because the only way you're going to feel comfortable about putting money into something is if you understand it. And there's just no way around that. Either have someone explain it to you, and you're going to have tons of questions, or you read about it, or you find the way that's good for you to learn.
But we all know that the information's on the internet.
The information is all out there, and the information is all free if you want it to be free.
Just follow Richard and watch his live streams and go back.
Watch Richard. Yeah, and here's the tip: is like Richard streams, Vince and some other people probably have timestamped all of his streams.
Because I learned about Bitcoin from Richard Hart. That's what I like. Like, that was kind of my introduction to learning about this. This is where I came in, right? Like, I was in Hex about a year and 1 month ago at this point, like right first stake, like just didn't know what was going on, just tweeting a little bit, but I saw him, I knew enough, and I saw him spitting absolute facts about Bitcoin, like just straight up, no fat on the bone facts about Bitcoin. And I was just like, this guy is legendary. And that's when people said this is marketing too, like Richard really marketed himself well in that moment by saying, I have other resources too. I have other things for you too, like other info. Like, if you listen to me, you're going to get Truth Bombs Alpha all over the place. And I was like, done deal, because you know me, Sam, I love finding those guys with the alpha and just sticking to, like, at least monitoring them.
Yeah. No. Go ahead, Bloom.
Well, just as I was saying, the timestamps are often in the comments section, and you can just go through a whole lot of his old videos, look at the timestamps, find what's interesting for you, find what you want to know. Often he only speaks about things for a few minutes, and then you just click on another thing that you're interested in, then another thing you're interested in, and that's an amazing resource. And then obviously the Telegram chats, people, if there's something you don't understand or you're curious about, ask questions. And it's like any learning process. At first, you're going to feel awkward. At first, you're going to feel like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And I'm like the definition of learning is feeling awkward. If you're not feeling awkward, you're not learning.
Oh
If
my
you're not
God,
feeling
I felt
awkward,
so awkward with security. So awkward. I mean, I have to say this. Like, when I was going, because everyone came at me initially, said, you faked your hack. Everyone's faking your line. I was like, what are you? I was like, I'm new. I'm new. Like, I literally was telling everyone I was new, but everyone was like, he's pretending to be a millionaire. And I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I never said that. I just am here. I happen to have abs and look decent, but I'm not rich. I was just like, guys, I got hacked. I don't know what's going on, and I'm scared. Like, literally. And then I went on Whales, and then I'm at the point now where, like, I am a new man when it comes to my security. Like, I feel like 1,000 pounds is off of my body compared to what I felt like then and the months after that when I was dealing with it and learning. I have treasures all over the place. I have all my documentation in the proper places. It's like, God, Jesus, Lord, I'm so glad it's possible to make this shit secure, because it actually is possible. It seems impossible when you're new because you're like, oh, I got to learn so much stuff. I got to download all this stuff. But it's really simple. And as I get better at this, I'll be able to help more people, like smoothing the way in there. Because it is clunky. It's clunky.
In the end, it's actually pretty simple. It comes down to how you store 12 or 24 or whatever else, but like mainly either 12 or 24 words. How you store those words, like in a secure way. Which means don't let them touch the internet. And what I would suggest is putting your own encryption on top of those words that's only in your head. Whether that's reversing them all, chucking a whole lot of words and below and above them, chucking fake words in the midst of them, and like just like which positions they're in. So all you have to do is remember those. Let's say you put 4 words mixed in with your seed words, and so all you have to remember is the 4 numbers, like a pin, and then you can store what that encryption method is.
It's an interesting idea. I like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't rely on hardware wallets, to be perfectly honest. Like, I use them as tools, but if you're going to be holding this stuff for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years or whatever, I wouldn't trust a piece of hardware that's just plastic. And
well, they have lifespans too. They go out after 10 years. So.
Yeah. What seed management is the most important thing, and how you remember those words, how you store those words, if in case that you need them, and splitting up your crypto amongst a number of words. So it really does become about seed management, like having a number of sets of words in different, holding different crypto. Like if you've got a hex stake that you're not going to touch for 15 years, you don't need to have those seed words on any device at all.
Blue Bum, I'm telling you, I try to tell the people. I already experienced it, so I know exactly what to tell the people. They don't understand what smart contracts, staking protocol, 15 years. They don't understand what that means. They do, but they don't. They don't think about it. They don't think about 15 years from now. What did I plug in? Where did I write this stuff? That's what people are like, buy and stake your hex. Buy and stake your hex. And I'm like, no. Buy some Maxi, shut the fuck up, and learn what the fuck you're doing before you lock into smart contracts for 15 years. And I know that's a taboo thing to say around here, but it's just the truth. Frankly, it doesn't really matter if it's taboo.
Because if you get somebody in there and they're like, okay, cool, $10,000 is a lot of money to that person, and they put that in there, and they don't have, because most people can't conceptualize like exponential growth, and most people can't conceptualize time to get a real grasp of those things. And what you're saying, you got the exponential growth in crypto, but you also have the locking of her hex into the future. And you stack two things that are extremely difficult for even smart, intelligent people to grasp. And without the context in place, like think about where you were 10 years ago mentally, where you were 10 years ago with what your life was. You were in a completely different spot. And you got to take some of these things and at least think about those, or at least put it into context to recognize that in 10 years, your life is going to be completely different than it is today. And you have to take those things into consideration. Like,
yeah, man. And I'm a bit older than you guys probably. So time goes quick. You'd be surprised at how quick 10 years goes.
right. Where are you 10 years ago that you were in a completely different spot?
Ironically, I was like, I'm in South America at the moment, and ironically, 10 years ago, I was in South America. But those are the only 2 times I've been in South America. But yeah, I was at a different place in my life, and I've learned different things. But yeah,
I wanted to ask just a couple more questions because then I have to run on Hedron. If you're muted, GRC.
What time are you leaving, Sam?
In 10 minutes. I set my alarm. I set my alarm, so my alarm is going to go off at some point.
15 minutes.
So if it goes off, I can set it to be off it as long as I have to be off at 12:45 at the latest. So Hedron, we were touching on it, and then we started talking about some other things. Where can somebody go through and actually purchase this distressed debt, if you want to call it that?
Oh, so you go to the hedron.pro website, and actually, do you want to just bring it up on screen? And
I have it up in the background. I can do that right now. So it's funny you asked that.
Yeah, it's all pretty simple. You just you can browse liquidation. Actually, why don't we do that? Let's see if we what happens if you press browse liquidations. Okay, it says it's connecting.
Mine doesn't work in Chrome. It never works in Chrome. I don't know why, but I have to use a different browser for me to.
If you want to pull it up, Bullish, you can go ahead and pull it up so we can browse those liquidations, because that's actually. I'm
wondering if. Yeah.
Yes, we'll just get Bullish to pull it up. Sam's working on 19.
Okay, cool.
Is that action?
I checked. It's not there yet.
It's not there yet? Okay.
So have you heard of
I can actually.
Have you heard of hexmarket.com?
Hexmex. Sorry?
Hex is it called hexmarket.com, Sam?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he came into the Hedron chat really early on and kind of said, "Hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Would you guys like to give some input on what it should be?" And a bunch of us went over into his Telegram and made some suggestions, because he wanted to create an HSI marketplace and he wanted to have Hedron staking.
But you'd have so I wanted to now, like, the liquidations, maybe I just had to pull it up on a different browser, a different computer to try to pull it up. Or as Bullish mentioned, it's not up there yet. So if I just
know what? If you go, I'm just going to quickly look in the Hedron.
I can pull up your screen too. It's no problem if you have.
Yeah, because he did post it. Alex posted it. Let me just try to find it.
Guys, smash the like and real quick, smash the like button and smash the subscribe button, and share this out to a friend who's absolutely wrecked. Oop, there goes my shit.
And jump down below and say hi on Twitter. Press the follow button on Twitter. We're very active on Twitter, so jump over there. Okay, so I got my thing to connect, but it still doesn't load the advances on here. Okay, so but basically, we know where to find them when they're available.
Yeah, I've got it here. What I'm gonna do is see if I can I send you a file? How do I send you a file?
You can send a link in the private chat right there.
Yeah, I've actually just downloaded the image. So how do I send an image? Are you on Telegram?
Yes.
Or someone on who should I? Or can you just post in the private chat who I should send it to on Telegram?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the link for Telegram, or unless Bush.
All right, pull up the link for Telegram. And you could just share your screen too if it's on there, but it doesn't matter either.
Oh, yeah, I tried. No, because when I pulled up, I couldn't.
It's all right.
Hang on.
If you do it, then I pull it up after you share it. It'll pop up on my screen.
Okay. Hang on. I'm going to do that. Give me 2 seconds.
Take your time. You're cool, man. No worries. I'm in a totally relaxed mood, so I don't even care. Everything's vibing.
I don't know how to share the Telegram with you.
We're all stooges of technology. I mean, Jesus Lord. Between the three of us, we could build a supercomputer. But I mean, I don't blue bum. What was your expertise throughout your life, if you don't mind me asking? No specific.
No, I'm an actor, or I did a lot of acting. I used to create solo theater shows, and I used to tour them around the world.
Oh, so you're
Doing
freaking-
festivals.
Dude, so you've had a dope ass experience in your life.
I used to chase experience. I never chased money, to be honest. I chased experiences.
Yeah, I'm kind of like
And I can't even find where I just downloaded it to. Bloody hell.
Crypto Bigfoot with the big LOL right in our faces. Great to see you, Crypto.
Okay,
Bigfoot.
well,
I also used to teach, like, I've taught dance, and I've been dancing and taught acrobatics, and
What?
yeah,
Incredible.
Bloom, you're on BLOOBU on. Is that you on Twitter? No, I don't think.
at Bluebum is the man.
I'm going to use the restroom real quick while you stooges work on your.
Okay, I just sent you a message on
here we go.
Twitter, so maybe you
I found it. Okay. So
I forgot what we were looking at. Oh yeah, the liquidations.
let me see if I can share
So if you press share, then it'll say
screen.
share screen, and then it'll ask the browser.
Yep. Okay.
You got that beautiful wind chimes in the back.
That is my alarm, sir. That is my alarm. Hold on, let me take myself down. I'll go.
Well, if your alarm's going off, then I need you to get off the show right now, and you have to turn your computer off.
Is that coming up?
Yes, sir. Hold on. It might take a second to load, but it's coming up. Turn your alarm off, Sam. Pissing me off. What the heck is that thing? I don't know why it's not loading up yet. Just give it a second. Anyway, you could also just tell us the information on there.
Well, you know what? I'm just gonna go to my Twitter and I'll see. You'll give me a place.
If you put any link in the private chat, I can pull it up. Anything.
Can I just actually post like that's what I did in the private. I haven't got a link to it though. It's just because this is a JPEG.
That's right. If you send it to me on Twitter, we can pull it up either later or tomorrow and show it. I sent you a message on.
Yeah. I'm gonna send it to you now.
Now I'm freaking cute. Now Sam, we have to finish this. So just you pull it up.
Okay, I just sent it to you on Twitter.
Okay, perfecto. So let me share this. Everybody here. Now that we've led you guys on for so long, let's see what this looks like. Okay. So what do we got? What do we got here?
Yeah, so that top one is 714 B shares. So it's not one. Yeah, it's 714 B shares, and it starts in 8 days. And that one below that is 71 B shares, and that starts in 8 days.
Starts in 8 days. The liquidation starts in 8 days.
Yeah.
Okay. So the starting bid on the top one that's 714 B shares is 2.7 million Hedron.
Yeah. And so if you look at that second one is 71 B shares. So that's about a $500 hex stake that goes for Quattro Cinco. And to pay that liquidation off only costs you $2.
So it's go ahead.
So if somebody pays off that liquidation and nobody else bids for it, you could pick up a $500 hex stake for $2. So obviously people are going to bid on it.
Sam, I need you to understand this information, digest it, and study it.
I'm going to do a separate video. If I can pull up these liquidations, I want to.
I'm telling you, I need.
I'm just coming in here just to say I told you so.
Come on.
I realized that on day one. Day one.
Well, this is one. Crypto Sloth was in here earlier today. He is also like the man when it comes to Hedron.
Crypto Sloth is an absolute killer.
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
Oh my god,
he's an intelligent kid. Hey, yeah.
He was I was like, dude, you come on this show any moment of any day that you'd like, because anyone who is that detailed within his own understanding of stuff.
Blue Bum, you had mentioned, 45 minutes ago or something, it's going to be interesting to see how people value those NFTs. Well, there's a bunch of them listed on OpenSea. I've taken a look at a bunch of them, and I'm going to be working through with Crypto Sloth on valuing those, because we have different takes on them. He's got more on the thinking on that piece of it. So I'm going to be putting together a model for myself for valuing those, because the same thing can happen with the NFT sold over there. Right?
Yeah, it becomes really interesting because you're buying a hex stake, which was bought at a much cheaper T-share rate. And so because you're getting more T-shares than you can actually possibly get, you're getting more yield in hex every day on that. So
think about this for a second. Just anybody who's listening, right? If you're still here, first of all, thumbs up. But this is allowing you to effectively buy a hex stake at a higher yield than currently. So you can't get this rate where you're getting a higher yield at a discount. So you get these two benefits stacked on top of each other.
T-shares are king.
Share
rates. Oh, the share rate. When the share rate ratchets up and it doubles back on each other like Hex does and like Hedron will, it's going to be glorious.
The other question I had, so I love this. This is awesome. Was the adoption of Hedron, right? Because that's if anybody's holding Hedron, the adoption of Hedron is what's going to help drive it, right? So, what are your thoughts on the adoption of Hedron?
I think Hedron was incredibly innovative in how it initially distributed all of its coins. So, distribution of a project, how that project is going to initially distribute its coins is always like a challenge and has pluses and minuses. And you have all sorts of different distribution models. So what Hedron did was it chose a group of people who were long-term thinkers, hex stakers, and it weighted giving the coins to those people according to how how long their stakes were. So it's chosen a very specific set of people to give all of those initial coins. Now, sure, lots of those people are dumping a lot of those free coins and have dumped a lot of those free coins. But I would suggest, and it's impossible to ever know, that if you just gave them to people who had a MetaMask address or people who held Shiba Inu, I would suggest that those free coins would be dumped a lot more and a lot faster than those people. Whereas you would expect hex stakers who understood the tokenomics of it would understand to hold on to it for a longer period of time.
Do you get that, Dan?
Well, I'm still trying to see if there's like
We'll just think about it, Sam.
To adopt, for people to actually utilize Hedron, because it's such a
well,
tiny little subset.
Whales, basically what he's saying is the whales as of right now in Hedron, or the guys that have the most T-shares, I guess, long term, are going to be the majority of the people that are, a good portion of the people that are holding it. And Hexicans don't sell their shit because they're all rich and they know that's
well, some do. That's not completely true. A lot of them do.
Though, comparatively, what you're saying is it's more positive. It's more positive than if you went this direction. It's not necessarily the largest amount, but it's just negative versus positive externality by random people being there. Rather guys that we are known to look into shit at least.
And in that sense, the people who got into Maxi early on, I wouldn't be surprised if they're the recipient of some sort of airdrops.
Oh, I'm the Maxi god. I'm the Maxi god. I love Maxi so much. Maxi's the best. So simple. So easy for guys like me to understand. and I just freaking got it. I was like, the premium's going to be crazy. I know it. Like me and Sam were just talking about it like days before, and it's been awesome to watch. Not even the money part, just like to watch, like just to see how this stuff plays out. Because derivative products are just a part of the future, so you just have to get used to it.
I think the biggest
Maxi too.
I think the biggest strength for Maxi. I mean, there's tons of strengths for Maxi. I'm a big proponent of it, but the fact that Maxi, I forgot what I was going to say.
The Hedron locks in the Hedron. It locks in the.
Oh no, that it is simple to grasp. It's simple to understand. You're buying a share of a pool. That's a maximum hex length stake.
And you don't have to hold on to it for the long time if you don't want to.
It's got liquidity. Yeah.
So there's not a terrible ton of liquidity, as we talked about earlier, for when I look at the pool size right now on Uniswap, there is a collective pool of 700, 800, 900, about a little, it looks like about $1 million, maybe a little bit less than $1 million of Maxi, right? But it was about, do you think that pool size is going to end up?
Look, the only thing that I see that's a little bit, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Maxi, is that because it is such a good value proposition, why would you ever want to like sell it? And so for the people who are providing the liquidity, I can kind of see them diminishing the liquidity over time. And so if you wanted to get out in a big way from Maxi, you might have huge slippage because there's not much liquidity.
Can you explain that point that you just made to me? In a more like, I missed it. I don't understand a couple of things about that.
Okay, so if you have $1 million of Maxi and at the moment, and you want to turn that into $1 million of USDC, it's harder for you to probably, if you pull all of that out, you end up
you'll move the price too much on yourself
massively.
Yeah, and so you get massive slippage.
Gotcha.
And
so when you say slippage, you mean the percentage of the loss between what you move the price into in the median?
I mean, go have a look at it right now. Go pull up Uniswap. Go pull up Maxi. What happens if you want to? What happens if you want to sell $1 million of Maxi right now?
Does it tell you the slippage on the bottom? Like,
yeah.
Well, this is not the slippage, but this is the pool size. So if the pool size is only 700K. Right here in this top hex.
So you can't pull out. Well,
if you pulled out half of that, what would happen?
Well, first of all, there's not enough coins to actually pull out. You'd have to pull out from each of those pools. So you'd have to go into each pool, and maybe you could pull out $1 million. Maybe in total it's $1 million.
There's $1 million Maxi. So if you were talking about $1 million or $1 million Maxi.
Yeah, $1 million. What happens if you pull out $1 million? So change the USDC to $1 million.
Okay. So let me go over to the beginning. Where is the app here? We're going to put in Maxi here. And what, USDC or Hex or something? As we wait for my computer to.
He was looking at Uniswap. He thought we were looking at Uniswap the whole time. The other front end.
Yeah, because mine's always dark for mine, and I don't think I chose a
clunky. My bad. That's my bad. Go Bullish. Can you pull this back up and can you type in? You got the numbers right there. Is that the numbers you're looking for? Yeah, right there. So where's the slippage? I don't see where it says the slippage.
If you press that arrow, was it? Yeah, 90%. That's the price. That's
smokes, yo.
Yeah.
All right, now take a 0 off that if you don't mind, Bully. Interesting.
So you can move it. You can pull out 100,000 with only 3.64% slippage.
That's pretty lit.
That's not too bad, I suppose.
3,000.
I mean,
really wanted that. So, and because over time, I just like I'm not sure there's a massive incentive to provide liquidity for Maxi, and so maybe it's a case that if you want to pull out Maxi, you're not going to be able to pull out a huge amount whenever you want. If you want to pull out a massive amount, you're just going to have to pull it out over time, smaller amounts.
And as people, get a doubles, like going to be people like, or they put in $10,000 and they had $10,000 of Hex. They got a 1-for-1 for Maxi. And then they are now at $30,000 and it is 6 months later. And they're like, I'm good with $30,000. And they'll take that and they'll sell that on the market, which could increase the supply, but not necessarily in the liquidity pool. Somebody will just buy it up.
Right. So if you go Hex to Maxi, 95% slippage, no. It's 70% slippage on a million.
Well, Uniswap, when they did the USDC, it would have been pulling from all of the pools. It would have been routing through all of those pools because there's not that there's.
What did you think about the Terra
much.
Luna protocol? Well, can I ask you a few more questions while I have you?
Sure.
You ask those questions.
Yeah,
Ask those questions. I'm gonna run. If you guys enjoy the show, jump down below. Say what's good on Twitter. Give me a follow. And appreciate you guys. It was awesome meeting you. If I can ever help with anything or share any type of information, happy to. Feel free to reach out. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon.
See you, man. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well. Appreciate all the.
All righty. Hold on. Let me switch the background real quick. All right. So I have the questions that I bring up on the regular here that, they're multifactorial. So everyone has a little bit of a different answers. Let's talk about the stable coins. Let's talk about Terra Luna, the algorithmic stable coin. Do you have any intimate understanding on that kind of stuff?
I've never been interested in stable coins. I didn't get into crypto to hold USD, US dollar. Like for me, it's just,
as far as the loan thing. Like,
the loan thing.
Like, so I talk a lot about crypto loans here as well. And not because I want to take them out, because I feel like the right information is not really there. And we were talking about liquid loans a lot, obviously, here, not specific. So I'm just a little bit confused about a lot of that shit. Really, I think everyone kind of is.
For me, to be perfectly honest, I've never understood the incentive to take out fully backed loans with crypto.
When you take a loan out, I'm sure in your life you've taken a loan out of some sort in any fashion, maybe. Let's say you needed some sort of business venture you were going on, and you were like, I need $1 million, right? What would the avenues that you would generally, the specific, but generally, where would you go with your mind?
The only time, honestly, the only loans I've ever had were credit card, and
I've never done any of that.
And pretty much I tried to pay that. I'd be the sort of person that would be paying that shit off the next day kind of thing, because I hate paying interest and stuff. But it's loans in the real world are very different from crypto loans. Loans in the real world is you don't have the money, and so you need to borrow the money and then pay it back over time. Loans in the crypto world, as you have the money, you put that money as your collateral, and then you take out a loan on that money. And to me, I'm always just like, what if I wanted some other money, I'll just sell some of that thing. I just don't understand the point of, to me, it's just like, that makes no sense. Like people say, oh, well, you can short stuff. And I'm like, if you want to short a crypto, just sell it. If it goes down in value, then you can buy it when it's lower in value. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me why you'd want to chuck it into a contract where you have more risk, and so that you're holding this other thing, and then you're risking two assets rather than just like it. Just I've never seen the point of it, but smart people seem to get into it.
That's what I'm saying. I get a lot of these younger guys on the show that are really, really smart, right? Like they dig into all the little things. Like some of the guys that have money and a little bit more of a lifestyle that they're already used to, they're not so concerned with a lot of these things. Nor am I, to be honest. If I'm being 100% frank, I could give an S if someone said I'd never take out a crypto loan in my life. I'd say I don't give a crap.
Yeah, I can kind of. I mean, maybe there are tax reasons that people do stuff. I don't know. But I can kind of understand if you have a house and you want to take a loan on that house, you use that house as collateral and you take your loan and you do whatever you need to do with your loan and pay that back over time. But it's because that house is not divisible. Like you can't sell half a house or 10% of a house. But with crypto, you can sell. If you have a crypto asset and you just want to sell a little bit of it to do something else with that other money, then just sell a little bit of it. Like, it's fungible. So they've like, stable coins have never made sense to me. Like if I want to hold, first of all, all our fiat currencies are shit coins and they're going down in value over time. So why on earth would you want to hold it? But if you do really want to hold it, chuck it in your bank and hold it in your bank. Like, why would you want to create this other digital money and hold it in digital money? I think the only reason for stable coins is people want to try to time the markets. I think, we're going into a bear, so I want to get into, or I want to hedge myself and blah, 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 blah. And for me, it's not worth the risk.
But we've kind of proven over this cycle that the stable coins aren't stable enough. They're not stable enough.
And that's it. Exactly. Yeah. Supposedly, stable's a marketing term. And they can go to zero. And the government could ring up Circle and say, cancel that person. And all of a sudden, all that stuff you have, it's gone. You know? So it's not they're not cryptocurrencies. They're digital currencies. And they've got a lot of risk, no matter what you want to call them.
Yeah, and I haven't personally, again, whenever I'm talking about stuff, guys, get it, I always come at it from the angle, like, I'm just learning about all this stuff, right? It's not like I don't even participate. I think most of it's dumb, in my opinion. So much extra work. I have a lot of stuff to do in my life, a lot. You know, whether that's researching Cardano white paper or mowing my lawn, for the biggest waste of time in the history of the world, mowing lawn, but I like to get tan. But so yeah, I don't know, dude. There's everything's stupid except like buying and holding and staking as safely as possible. Unless you have like some crazy business venture that you're looking to get into and that's like your only way to do it. Like, that sounds all right. But like, other than that, like, I don't know what it's like to actually need money. Like, I've never needed money before. Like, I have nothing to buy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, isn't that it's a weird thing to say, but it's true. Like, I'm in a weird spot, right? It's like you probably have a S load of shit you have to pay for a month, and you probably make an S load of shit more money than me a month. But it's like, I'm almost in this weird position where it's like I'm neutralized by the fact that my overhead is so incredibly low. It's like neutralized everything, so I can just like study.
You know, I was never that interested in chasing money. Like I was always just like, I thought I want to chase experiences. I want to do these crazy things in my life. I want to travel and I want to do this and I want to be an actor and I want to like learn this thing and I want to learn that thing. And I never, like, it was always just sort of getting the amount of money I needed to do the thing that I wanted to do. And I always kind of trusted that, like I would have enough money. And if I didn't have enough, and there were plenty of times when I was down to the bone, and at those times I just went and got a job or I found a way to get money. Well, sometimes money just came to me. Like, I remember one time I was like super broke and I was just like, shit, what am I going to do? And then I just went for a walk and I like found like $300 in the road. It was just like, and then another time, like, I was down to the bone and I was like, shit, I need a job. So you just make your resume and you send it out to a whole lot of things. And I ended up getting this awesome job that I didn't even know existed, where I was a video sports journalist. So I'd go in and I'd watch sports matches and I'd note down the highlights and I'd edit together the highlights of the thing and do a voiceover of what happened in the match. And they'd sell that to like online newspapers and stuff like that. And it was like it brings experiences when you kind of like get desperate as well, you know? So like, why would you want to, and things that you don't like.
But it's the overhead thing. Again, like, people get themselves into these situations really early in their life, really early, like my age or younger, where it's like, oh shoot, I have 2 kids. I work at Verizon. I make $110,000 a year. And if I stop, my house will go under. And it's like, I was so afraid to pin myself against the wall. I was like, everything I did in life, I was like, just give me time to think. Just don't hold me to anything yet. I was like, because I knew everyone was lying to me. I knew it. I knew. I was 100% certain. So, all my parents and stuff were telling me to do whatever, and I was kind of listening, kind of not listening. And basically, I waited until I had the insight that I needed. I finally waited, and like crypto was one of those big insights for me. And I was just like, I waited this long to find whatever thing I could be the best at or like good at, and this is it. And it's the most profitable thing to do in general. It's like, there's nothing more profitable than this. You could start any business. And if you just one for one the dollar compared to whatever you put into a decent coin, which would be like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Hex to me, you're going to crush it, probably.
Yeah, the next decade is looking like it's going to be berserk. Like we're growing faster than cryptocurrency adoption is growing faster than the internet did in the 90s. So, and that happened fast.
So we look at the S-curve adoption rate here sometimes, and we're at 3% of the population interacts with crypto in any way, and in 5 years it should be close to 50%. Yeah, so if you do the adoption math on the low end, like
going back to Bitcoin and what Bitcoin's original intention was, which is not what it is now. They're kind of trying to bring it back to it in a roundabout way, I suppose. But Bitcoin wanted to be a peer-to-peer transaction, so that if I wanted to get a service off you, I don't have to go through an exchange and change it into cash and then pay you in cash. I just go directly to you and we do our commerce like on the chain. Obviously, they stunted the growth of Bitcoin, and then like as more users come on, it gets more expensive, and so it doesn't scale. And so then people have been all trying to find ways to scale cryptocurrencies, but it's kind of along the way they changed the narrative, and it turned into store of value. We're just a better store of value because the governments print up money like there's no one's business. Their fiat monies are a terrible store of value. And so cryptocurrency can easily usurp that because it's just like the rules are clear and it's just a better store of value. But I think that to be truly free of the financial system, we're going to have to, at some point, start paying each other in cryptos. And because like an exchange is a centralized financial institution. And that's what Bitcoin was trying to get away from. And so we're going to have to get back to that. But I think what's going to have to happen is there's going to have to be so much value in cryptocurrencies that people just, and it's going to be so terrible to use these centralized services that people are going to have to be forced to adopt, and I think it will happen, like I was traveling in these like really small towns in Colombia recently, and like you can pay for credit card, you can pay with your debit or credit card for stuff at these little fucking shops in the middle of nowhere. And they've got the app on their phone, and they've got this little card reader, this little plastic, looks like a little Casio or something card reader. And you put your card in there and they hook it up to the app and you can pay for stuff. And so people are going to be able to learn, merchants are going to be able to learn how to do this. And I don't know how long it will take, but as more and more value goes into cryptocurrencies, I think those merchants who want to make it easy for those people who have the value, they're going to at some point start using cryptocurrencies. That's what I hope anyway.
I definitely think the same. I mean, it's just like, it's a more efficient way to do it. It's just, all we can hope is that legislation doesn't find some way to absolutely pin us against the wall, or pin all the people that aren't in crypto already against the wall, which is probably what they will do.
They're trying, but ultimately it fails. They can't control it.
But they still have the masses. They have the masses, which is nice. So like whatever people, like once they really go all in and they decide to start pushing whatever they're going to start pushing, they do have the masses, but we probably have enough power already, because who knows how long that'll be, right? That could be years until that starts to be a narrative, right? How rich will some of our friends be by then, for F's sake? Like what legislation will they be writing in every state in the United States? Because the way people talk around here is a lot of these guys are trying to get into legislation so they can change shit because they know they're going to be rich as hell. in the States.
That'll be part of it. I don't think there's going to be any one way of that things happen. It's also going to be people learn about stuff. Like I've been deep diving. I'm a dual national of Australia and America, and so I've been deep diving recently on. Did you know all United States citizens are actually dual nationals?
Say it again.
You have all United States citizens are dual nationals. You have two types of citizenships. You're a state national, and also you're a citizen of the United States of America.
Right.
And not many people know that they are state nationals.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually make an affidavit, and you can what's the terminology? I'm not exactly sure, but you can say that you're a state national and that you're not a citizen of the United States of America. And the only difference, well, there's a few differences. You can't vote and you can't be in federal government office as a state national, but there's all sorts of statutes, like nearly all of the IRS laws, except for two obscure ones that we will never have to use, like the alcohol and tobacco department, and it's a bit of a rabbit hole, and you have to understand the difference between lawfulness and legality, but there are ways around this kind of stuff. And I think that as we get more educated and awareness starts growing, we're going to find many, many ways. Ultimately, humans are incredibly innovative. And the more you try to control us, the more innovative we get. And so I have great optimism for the future. I think that we're going through hard times at the moment, and we've got some more hard times ahead of us.
Hard times.
Ultimately, like the thing is, the people who are printing money are playing a dead end game. The more they print money, the more they're devaluing their own money. Eventually, it gets to the point where people can't use it or don't want to use it.
Well,
that's starting now,
those
and
people
it just
dead that were printing out all the money. They don't even care.
And it gets to the point where they have nothing to pay the people who protect them.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
that gets wrecked.
Yeah, like if you wanted to play police, but you wanting to pay them the US dollars, but it costs you $100,000 for a loaf of bread, that's when a lot of people adopt cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, this is going to be absolutely crazy. I'm losing focus. Thank you so much for coming on today. We had a pretty intense conversation, you know what I mean? And it was great. And I think people need to be educated about Hedron in general. Just educated. That's it. Not told what to do. Educated. And what do you do when you educate people? You got to teach them. It's not easy to show people what to pay attention to in crypto because there's so much horrible stuff. But I promise if you come here, we're not going to be talking about stuff we don't know what's going on, like, period. So that's it.
Yeah, man, there's heaps to learn, and like I would embrace it. It's like an amazing amount of information that can make you very powerful and is absolutely worth learning. Follow your curiosity, and don't worry if you feel awkward. Whenever you learn something new, you feel awkward by definition. If you're not feeling awkward, you're not learning. And so go through that, and before you know it, you'll be teaching other people.
Yep. All right, man. Well, great times. We'll see you soon, hopefully. I'm doing a 24-hour pulse stream live. 24-hour. I can't say this shit. 24-hour pulse chain launch stream. Pulse chain launch 24-hour stream. Guys, that's going to be pretty epic. Hopefully after Bloom gets all his positions and security situated, he'll come on for an hour or so and say what's up if he's up to it. But who knows, because that could be a crazy time. Who knows what'll come on to all this stuff. Guys, I didn't stick to the topic whatsoever, and I don't care. It was a great episode. Everybody smash the like. Everybody hit the subscribe button. Go over to my Twitter. Hit the subscribe button. Go to my Instagram. I just posted it below. Hit the subscribe button. Bloom, do you have a personal channel? Bloom? Are you frozen? Did he freeze last second? No chance. No shilling for you, Mr. Bloom. Just kidding. Guys, we'll pull up Mr. Bloom's Twitter. Bluey. Blue. There we go. I got it. He rugged me. I know it. Let's see if he came back. Nope. Guys, it's your boy GRC. Go catch me on Instagram. If you haven't caught me on Instagram, don't be a little... It's right there. The link's right there, guys. Fantastic stream. Into the fire. Appreciate that. That's awesome. Don't think I've seen you in here. Scotch on the Hex. Thank you for the biceps. Billy Bob. Legend. Good job, guys. Thank you. Like before you go. Yes, sir. Wow. When? And break it up. T-Bird's been here jiving. Good shit, guys. Good shit. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I'll do the full outro song just so everyone can get a headbanger if they want to stay in here or they got their earbuds in, guys. Headbanger incoming.
Young folks, you dripping on them motherfucker.
Richard Heart. Richard Heart.
Bought my hex from the fucking start. .1 everything we mark. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the hex, he is mooning. Looking at wives they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pull chains out and they'll get me a check. He's gas up and it got me a mess. Remember the times he died collect. Hex I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Richard Hart.